So Thanksgiving is upon us in here, and everybody loves this holiday.
So fun.
They all look forward to it.
In my world, it's more of helping people prepare for going into situations with family that are going to be difficult. Yeah.
You get a lot of that?
Yeah. I feel like holiday time, you start seeing support groups popping up for people supporting around, like just going through the holidays in a certain way. It just has the ability to bring up stuff, but then we're going to go be around family. So a lot of times that's when the stuff we've been trying to work on or have been avoiding, it's when it just pops its head up. And it's like, how do we mentally prepare to go into being around people that could be really triggering or toxic, and then we're healing from whatever went down when they went home.
Right?
That tends to be a lot of what you see going on sometimes.
It's really hard to be a person who's doing your work, and with friendships, you can be like, okay, I'm not going to be around them as much, and that's just it. But I feel like there's this obligation a lot of people feel of like, it's my dad or it's my whatever. And I can't, I don't know. That's just so hard to, what do you do? Do you push down your work and be like, well, I'll just sit here in silence and let them be them? Or do you speak out? I guess it's in the moment.
Practicing boundaries with clients is, I like doing that sometimes because they have their parent's head or whoever that family member is already. They know exactly what they would say. So it's like rapid fire, come at me like you're this person. And I start responding in ways that set boundaries so they can start hearing kind of because they're like, how do I respond when they do this? Or it could be as simple as, I know this person is going to try to hug me and it's going to make me feel very uncomfortable. And I don't know if I know how to say no, and I don't want to be rude. And so we may talk around like very specific things like that, of like ways we can ask for our boundaries or have a boundary around simple things like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I've done that with myself too. Like, for example, if you don't have a therapist or someone who can do that with you, I've like gone like, oh, I'm going to see this person today. Okay, if they say this, how am I going to respond?
Yeah.
That's a really good. And it made me feel more confident because a lot of times people do things and you're just in shock. And you're like,
yeah. Yeah, and you feel like it's a lot. I have to. It'll be more disruptive to not than to go, and that's the trauma response of like, we'll just go, be in pain.
Yeah, this is what people do. Yeah,
happens a lot.
I know a little bit about this, but if you're willing to share, what's Thanksgiving like for you? I love you. Your head is turning like an iguana. You're like looking at me, but like, how is Thanksgiving for you?
This year, my dad, passed away about a year and a half ago. So this will be the second Thanksgiving holiday season. And, the year first, I tried to just do everything opposite. Like I just didn't really have a desire to celebrate or do much of anything. And I especially didn't want to go home and say, let's do the same routine that we normally do. But then Dad's not here. That just felt like I just did not want to do that. And now just the family dynamics have shifted in ways that I've really been focusing on, like, what does family's not always just blood, and it's kind of like family. I think everybody's learning and doing their own thing. It's how it's been for the past few years. And me understanding what family was, like, what does my family look like? And that's, you create your family, But I think right now for me, Thanksgiving just feels like another day. I've been looking more towards like, I'd love to create a Friendsgiving, the people that are around me and in my life most. It's how can I show up? I love to make food, creating and nurturing relationships that I'm very grateful for that has been supporting me. So that's when I think about just the holidays, but especially like Thanksgiving. When I sat with like what feels important to me, is something like that.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
I love that. I also love that you were like, it's just another day.
Yeah.
Because I think that's, I feel like so many people, it's kind of rare for people to be like, I can't wait to see my family.
Yeah.
Usually people are like, well, there's going to be at least one person.
Mm-hmm.
And so to just take that and like realize that some of it is a little commercial
Mm-hmm.
and that, you don't have to feel a certain way or be a certain way. You can also just like show up, grab a plate and leave if you want.
Yeah. Especially just with any of these holidays, for me, it's like more of the energy that the season brings of like, it feels a little more lighthearted. People are a little more kinder. There's more twinkly lights to look at.
Yes.
People are more just giving and I just feel like the collective energy lightens a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I just try to enjoy that for a couple of months while it's here.
Yeah.
And my friends are super kind and like checking in on like, what are my plans? Cause they're like, we don't want you to be by yourself. Cause I don't have a partner. And I'm kind of like, it is just a day. And I've tried to think about what do I want to be doing? Do I want to go on a trip but I'm like, I want to be in my home with my plants and my dogs and anybody else that's around that it feels like a day with them too. It's just, it just, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, this is the first time that you're doing something different because last time it was everything opposite. It was the first one.
I didn't go last time either. I can't even remember what I was doing Thanksgiving last year.
But it was like fresh that last year.
Yeah, last year was the first.
Yeah.
And I went to a cabin in the mountains for Christmas.
By yourself?
My brother and sister-in-law.
Okay.
I don't remember what I did for Thanksgiving. Probably nothing. I probably was like, I want to sit and do nothing. Yeah. Because I don't get to do that much.
Yeah.
So I kind of look forward to like, everything's closed. Everybody's gone.
Yeah.
There are no plans. Nothing has to be done.
Yeah.
I tend to, I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes watching TV sounds fun. Sometimes it sounds boring.
Right.
But sit around, go walk outside, sleep, take naps.
I love that.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be terrible.
Yeah.
Like you're not, I don't know.
It could be.
Well, yeah.
It really could be. But even just for me, the downtime, part of my response when they were like, what do you want to do? Do you want to go to, and I was like, if it ends up being a sad day for me, I want to be in the comfort of my home around things that love and support me. Like, I mean, y'all know my house. Everything in it is like
vibes
designed to support me. Like I have a hard time, like what room do I want to be in? Right. And I'm like, so it makes me reflect on like, oh, I really actually do like love my life in my home. And if that's where I want to go to be, even if sadness comes up, versus running off somewhere that's unfamiliar. I guess I want to be in a familiar, supportive spot.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so important to have a nice home. Like not nice as in like a place that supports you. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I want that more so.
What are your plans for Thanksgiving?
Well, I'm actually going to be doing stand-up. Yeah, which is cool.
Around here or somewhere away?
In Michigan.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that's what I'm doing. I'll be at your show.
Come to Michigan. It's going to be freezing. Yeah, it's weird talking about like we'll be doing, but you listening, you're like, it's today.
It's happening today.
That's where I'm at. I'm telling yuckies.
Yuckies?
Yucks.
Is that what you call Michigan people?
I love that you said that.
What do you call them?
Yuckies. No, if you're from Michigan, she said it,
I'm
not
sorry.
me.
I'm sorry. I'm just a curious person over here that misunderstood something. You said yuckies.
I was just making yucks cuter. Like yucks jokes. Like telling yucks.
Sorry, Michigan. I love you. You're my favorite state.
Yeah.
Don't hate me.
I'm gonna be doing that. And that's good. It's weird. Things have, shifted. My mom is sick and my granny has passed away. It used to be, man, I've just gone through so many like changes in my life of customs and stuff.
Were they the two that kind of like made that happen?
Yeah. Like where's everybody going to be? My granny would cook. We'd all go to my granny's. Yeah. But also there's like rifts in the family. So some people wouldn't go to granny. So then we'd go to their house the day after, it's like, but now I don't know. It's kind of shifted. It's really interesting. Like used to, we would go like, we had a thing. We'd go Christmas Day. We were seeing a movie all together. We'd go see.
I remember those days.
Right? Mm-hmm. See The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Go ice skating. It was like every holiday we'd do these things.
It. Yeah.
I'm so grateful for those times, even though it seems like another lifetime.
Yeah.
And now I'm making my own tradition. I mean, obviously I want to be around my mom, but me and my sister have grown so close. I mean, just over the years, as we've grown up, we've grown closer. And now with like my mom being sick, and my sister having a kid, it's just so wonderful that I'm like, we're like building our own traditions, like I want to see you and Cooper, and watching like him grow up, like it's just, I'm like, I'm becoming one of the aunts now. Like,
you'll be the one doing the tradition, like who they'll look to for that. So I don't know, thinking about that, it's like, what do you want it to be? And y'all can do it.
Yeah.
It's like the next matriarchs coming up.
Oh man, it feels awesome. I'm so excited to show him art and I hope I want to be a person where he feels like he can be in his absolute self, where he just like, where he has, you keep secrets from your mom. And I want him to be like, I'm going to tell Aunt Bo. Like, I'm going to tell her. That's what I hope I can be for him. And I won't tell your mom.
I love that.
Yeah. And I've also made some like decisions in my life, not to like fully engage with some family members. And that's been really nice. So that's like a whole new.
Will this be the first holiday after kind of making those decisions? Yeah. Are you going to be around them?
No.
Good.
Yeah.
Are you going to have to deal with the backlash of
Probably.
it? Okay.
Probably.
But good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, not interested in that.
I think that's good. A lot of times we don't give our permission, like we were kind of talking about, to make those kind of decisions for ourselves. Yeah.
I see other family members, being like, well, they're my this. And I'm like, well, you're miserable.
Oh, yeah. I think that the lack of permission we allow, we're talking about how much we love family and family bonds, and like, those can be very beautiful. But I think we're purposely trying to talk about when that's not the case, like what happens. And it's to the extent where I have worked with clients and heard stories around like people having to go be around abusers again, and whole family systems are aware of it. And it's just another long message of invalidating this person's experience.
Yeah.
And so there's things to that level, but that's how strong the have to, because it's family, can be for
it's
people.
The holidays. Push yourself down. I'm like, well, it's the holidays. Let's raise it up, Or
to not acknowledge it because of the disruption it would be, or what it would take away the ability for the family to have the happy gathering.
Right. Isn't that so weird?
Yeah.
There's like this idea
of what it's supposed to be.
Of like, it's just this one day we're going to be perfect.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know if anybody, well, I'm sure people have. I'm biased because I hear the stories that are not that.
Yeah.
But I know in my experiences, it's you're perfect, just kind of what your family norm is.
Yes. And
in
yes.
Not perfect. That wasn't the right word.
It's okay to be,
yeah,
of course. But in the sense of like, if someone's being abusive or I don't know, or unhealthy towards you, it's just like, I don't know. It's not worth it. But that's a hard choice to make. I don't know.
It is. I mean, not to get in the thick of it, but you're looking at like, what's their choices? Then they are alone if they choose not to go. It's like they have to choose connection over themselves.
Right.
Like that. Those are just really hard choices for people to be in. So that's a lot of times just when I'm trying to, if that's something a client's dealing with, it's just like, how do we best have boundaries? What is your level of tolerance in this? That where does the internal boundary happen? Where does the external one? And then where is I'm out of here happen?
That's really nice to break down.
Yeah. Like, what does that feel like in your body? Because your body will tell you first, like, this is not okay. This is a boundary I'm not comfortable with. And how to move through those things so that they have already given themselves the permission and have a plan to move through and keep themselves safe.
That's perfect. What do you mean by internal boundary and external boundary?
Internal, maybe I know if it's like, I know this parent is going to be very passive aggressive in, making me feel bad about myself. Normally we might try to, if we're codependent, we may try to respond to try to, explain things away or, to make that person feel better. So internal boundary could be as simple as like knowing when that happens and what that feeling feels like when that dump over starts to happen, and just, I'm not going to engage in that conversation. Wow. So that might be, then we switch the subject. That's a very small boundary by when we don't address that and we switch us to a different topic. Then,
which is hard enough in itself.
Yeah. Like I know back when we were in like heavy in COVID conversations, I'd said, I deal with that all day. I really don't want to talk about it in my free time right now. And then they just kept on with stuff. And so I just went, have you seen any good movies recently? And then they kept going. And then I finally had to say, I can't talk about this anymore. And so I'm going to have to like leave the conversation. If that's something you really need to keep going with, I can't do that right now. I don't have the capacity for it.
Amazing.
And I got up and took the plates in. So that's kind of a step up level where I knew going into this person talks about this kind of stuff a lot. And so I knew internally I can't go there. And then what it does, I could ask for, a boundary. Or a boundary, we get confused. A boundary is what I will allow, not what I need another person to do. Does that make sense?
Yes. Rules.
Well, yeah. Like sometimes it would be like, instead of don't talk about that, I don't need you to talk about that. That's a rule for engaging with me. Versus if I say, I don't have the capacity to talk about this topic. Can we talk about something else? Or if that's something you need to continue, I'm going to have to go inside. So that's a boundary because I'm saying what I will allow and what the consequence of what I need to do for myself to make sure that boundary stays met.
That's a really like unique pinpointed thing.
Yeah.
Because the opposite would look like stop talking about that and then just sitting there still. That's
just a rule or maybe a need. Sometimes maybe that could be a need, but it's being expressed. You're trying to control the other person. Yeah. And a lot of times we get those confused and we say that, we try to tell people what they can or can't do. And we think it's a boundary we're setting, and it gets framed in a lot of this therapy jargon.
Yeah. And it's not going to help you. Like, I'm thinking of like, if your parent is like putting you down and stuff and you're like, I don't know, if you're just meeting them with like, you're not allowed to speak like that or talk like that. Yeah. They're just like, what? Why? It's not, you're not going to change someone by one sentence, I feel like. So having a plan where you're like, if they keep doing it, I'm going to have to leave, and telling them that's more for you. Then that's really nice.
Yeah. And really, sometimes when we get pulled into these moments where we're like kind of triggered back into past stuff gets pulled up in the present, we lose the ability because we're not in that logic brain to try to do that. So when you have a plan going inward, like sometimes I may say, like, what's a common phrase that this person might say that feels triggering? Or I like to start within the body. What does it feel like? What can you remember when, mom starts doing this or whatever? And they normally have an idea. And so we'll talk about how can that be a cue to do the next thing that helps you set a boundary.
That's wonderful.
So, and normally instead of trying to like calm things down or people please or do these things to try to manage it out here, it's almost like that could be a cue for you to leave the room. That could be a cue for you internally to bring up that boundary that you need to set, and then, or to ask, or we may role play like how to respond to some things if they know this is a very common thing. So just having that game plan ahead of time can be really helpful, so that it's almost like a body memory that you can create and go to.
I love that. Yeah. And the feeling of setting a boundary. Oh man, I almost said I did it for the first time a month ago. I don't know if it was for the first time, but it was consciously
an intentional one.
Yes. And I was like, what other boundaries can I set?
I know.
Who else wants some? You know, like this is amazing. It feels so good.
I know. I remember the first time I learned no. You just want to be like, fuck everybody. No. Because it feels so good. Like, ask me for something? No. Like, it feels really good.
Right?
And then you might not have as many friends around you when you're doing that.
But you have good friends.
Well, if you operated I would say if we're operating at this side of the spectrum for so long with like saying yes and it being all about whatever the other person needs, and then we learn that we have needs and we can say no, and it feels so good, we'll like, we swap over here and we're like, but we have to learn what this space feels like. So it's like, yeah, it's okay, we're all in that for a minute, but just, I would say it's a pendulum, let it swing, because there'll be times it swings back over here, and certain people you cannot do this over, in this like boundary setting, and it'll pull you back in, but then you just start to let it swing and it'll land in the middle with a balance to where you then understand how it all feels and works. So then you can be more present moment without getting triggered and say, you notice this is a pattern, and you notice this, you have an experience doing this over here, and you can have some choice there.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so nice to say, because after I like remembering setting that boundary, there have been times where I like fell back into the like, but I was aware. I'm like, oh, I'm it's people pleasing here. Right. And I have to give myself grace in that of where I like didn't perfectly learn the boundary setting yet. Like,
yeah, I'll say sometimes it doesn't even matter the behavior. The goal is do it with conscious choice. It becomes harder to do the old pattern with conscious choice.
Right.
But like you said, you're like, wait, I'm kind of aware of this. And if in the moment you decide to still do it because it's the easiest, safest way for you in that moment, do it. I'd rather you do it with intention and awareness. Because then you can look to just be doing it because it's the only tool you have.
Yes.
Because then you're deepening in a pattern. Because even if you do it with intention and awareness, you're doing it different than you did before.
Yes, girl.
And it'll feel yucky, right?
It'll feel very Michigan.
You're like, no, don't.
I'm just kidding.
Don't create that pattern.
I thought you were making the joke.
I love Michigan so much.
Yes, it will feel. And it's nice to like, even if you make that decision that was I people please, you can look back and it's not like hidden trauma. You're like, oh, I see why you made that choice. And that's okay. Yeah. Can we go back to, external boundaries? You said internal boundaries, external boundaries. What is that?
So external is more, it can be more a verbal external where you're asking the other person, right? So the internal might be, when I know this comes up, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to solve that in the way that I have before. I know I'm going to do something different. So that's honoring that. And those are a lot of times the hardest ones to stick to.
That's a whole trauma thing that you're solving inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
and if you're
hard.
triggered, you can't make those logic decisions. You're offline. Yeah. So there's also plans of like knowing what comes up when you're going offline from logic brain and how to get back to it so that you can then respond appropriately. But the external boundary might be to physically like go into, I practiced with the client, this person that they knew would like hug them without permission, and it was someone that was harmful to them. But they're like, it seems just innocent, and if I do something different or reject that, I'm gonna look like I'm being dramatic. Yeah, and so it could be that we talk about how to physically place yourself to not be, accessible to this person, but how to step to the side, or people that will kiss people, like that can feel really uncomfortable, and kind of building up what's the nonchalant boundary being set. And then some people will still push it. And so we kind of talk through like, what does the more direct one? And that might be, I don't feel comfortable with that. Please don't do that. And that's like the one that's the most uncomfortable.
Yes.
But there's ways leading up to that it doesn't always have to be, we're being mean, right. A lot of times we put it in our head.
Right. And I mean, once you do those, in my experience, there will be that, oh, fuck, I was mean, or I'm weird, but then give it a day or two and you're like, that was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And an external boundary might be, this might be for everybody with conflicting political views in your family, is to hear someone going off on something that just feels really wrong for you to listen to. You always have the choice to just not engage in the conversation. For some people, that's going to not feel right to them, like they are being silenced. And so you could just get up and leave, say, I need to go to the restroom, or I'm going to go get some more whatever. I'm going to go walk outside. Right. That's a boundary, a physical one that you're setting. A more direct one would say, I'm not comfortable in this conversation. Can we change the subject? Right. So that's a more direct outward one as well.
And I think too, assessing, like some people I feel will go into their family things and be like, I'm going to have to fight my uncle again on this political thing. I don't know. While you may feel like, I think look into that, because I feel like some people are like, yeah, I'm fighting the good fight, but how does it really make you feel? It might feel better to just walk away instead of having like, some people.
Well, what's the intention? To me, I'm already going to think, you're already thinking you're going to like go in fighting. You're kind of welcoming that energy into a conversation with you, versus mindset or intention of, that's just not anything I'm going to engage with. Then you're just kind of like, dodging.
Yeah.
Getting out of the way of it.
Intention is a good point, because it's like, do you think you're going to change them?
Yeah. Some people like arguing about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, ooh.
Like if they do, go for it. Sometimes that's just the family fun.
Can't wait.
That's okay too.
So it was, right?
Yeah.
So it was internal, external. And what was the third one?
I don't know.
Oh. Boundary, something. Internal.
Kaylee said there was only 2.
You did this with your hands. I don't know.
Well, there's the internal, like knowing I'm not going to go and engage in this. So it's kind of like how to stop an emotional, mental kind of thought process happening. Yeah. And knowing where we're going to shift when that happens. And then there's just maybe the more like an indirect boundary that would be an external boundary would be, I'm going to step to the side, or I'm going to just go walk outside, versus a more direct kind of outward.
Got you.
Saying it outwardly, very direct around what your boundary is.
And you think the best way, if people don't have a therapist or someone to talk to, how like the best way to practice this is just to like imagine the situation?
Yeah, I think that could be great, because there's your nervous system doesn't know the difference that the person's not actually in the room, and that's why guided imagery can be really powerful. And I mean, you can do work with people that have passed, or this people that aren't safe to try to do processing with, so that your nervous system, think about, like, if I showed you a picture of, like, I won't use that example. If I showed you a picture of someone that felt really icky to you, that you really did not want to see, and I just like held it up, you see, you're even responding now. Your nervous system like wouldn't know the difference that the person didn't actually just walk into the room.
Yes.
And so you can visualize, like, and even body memory. Like, I've had people work with, like, knowing someone was going to, like, touch them or grab them, like their body movement of, like, moving it or moving to the side, like when that happens, and bringing up the imagery of that, because when those things may have happened, we may go into a freeze state. And that's how your body went through that trauma of being like touched or grabbed that way, versus let's bring that up and now let's move our body in a different way.
Amazing.
Of like pushing the hand away, or literally moving and doing something different. And that helps it's the body's experience is what that trauma is. And so you can definitely elicit like imagery to help if you elicit the imagery, you are kind of calling that up in the nervous system, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And then the somatic experience is normally there with it, right? And then doing something different, letting the body discharge what froze before, but then moving it in a different way, because it's the body keeps the score.
Now you have a new experience that you felt. Yeah, that is so nice.
Yeah, and it could be getting up from the table versus maybe we just felt frozen and couldn't talk and just stewed in like anger, right?
Yeah.
Then it's like, that could be, I'm going to get up and leave this. It felt like, that can be just as empowering as sitting there yelling what your truth is.
I love that. I love that. And I also want to say, like, give yourself grace, I'm just thinking like how hard that must be and how much practice it has to take. So even if you can just like, I feel like just hold your hands or like hold yourself and you're still at the table.
It at all different than you did before, even if it's with awareness, even if you're just going through it with aware of how it's feeling for you, it's different. It's okay. Yeah.
That's so nice. I love progress.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful and thankful for you and how much I learn from you, and the joy you bring me, and the space that you give me to feel all my feelings. I always feel safe with you, and I'm just very grateful for our friendship.
I know. I am too. I love it.
I love it too.
We're coming up on a year.
Isn't that
We've
wild?
We've been friends for a year. It feels longer.
It does.
I know. I am grateful for you. I think the favorite thing about our friendship is I know I've said this before, but you just give me permission I just can be completely myself when we're around each other. And like it's like you're my cheerleader.
I am. Yeah.
And it's important. I haven't always had people like that around me. And you're one of those people. And I love that.
Oh.
Yeah.
What a blessing.
We can be very happy and goofy, but we can also be in our shit together too. Yes. And it just all helps and heals all together. And that's hard to find friendships like that. So thank you.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Love you.
I love you too. And grateful for the listeners.
Yeah.
Were you guys?
Oh yeah. You're here. We love you too.
I'm so grateful for the people that tune in.
I know. I'm surprised people want to hear us talk.
Girl, I'm not. They're lovely and caring and kind. I learn from the people that reach out to us. I am rejuvenated and I feel love, and it's just like I'm very grateful for you listening. It means a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Because it means we get to spend more time.
Yes. I'm grateful for you, Michigan.
She means that.
I'm going to get a t-shirt made.
Have the happiest Thanksgiving or Thursday or whatever you want to call it. Eat
Have
good
the
food.
day you're going to have. Yeah.
Amen.
Amen, Brother Ben. Did you used to say that?
No.
Amen, Brother Ben. Amen, Brother Ben, dig in.
No.
At the end of like a prayer.
I love
it's a
that.
Southern thing, I guess.
Who's Ben?
I don't know. Maybe like Uncle Ben's rice. I'm just making that up. I don't know, but they would say, Amen, Brother Ben, dig in.
Oh.
Let's eat.
Hey, y'all. It's Amber.
And Melanie.
Thank you so much for being a subscriber. It means so much to us.
And it feels so good just to be supported, that you're resonating enough with the things that we're talking about that you want to spend your hard-earned money just to be connected with us a little bit more.
Definitely. It really does feel good to be supported. And we're so excited to keep sharing with you and this journey and just to be friends. So we're grateful for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.